let's get straight into the video. I promised myself I would never watch Batwoman. When I learned she would be involved in the Crisis on Earth crossover event, I was insanely excited. I've loved Batwoman since I was a kid, and of course I was hyped for her inclusion, and then they cast Ruby Rose. But I said, okay, I'll wait to judge. And I waited, and oh boy, it was bad. So I pledged, like many, I would never watch the Batwoman TV show. Then Supergirl got even more crazy and misogynistic than usual, and my Twitter feed was filled with praise for Batwoman. Everyone kept saying to me, watch Batwoman, you'll love the villain. She's super evil and blonde and you'll love her, watch it for her. As it turns out, everyone is watching for Alice. I was intrigued. How do you set about to make a TV show about a superhero and then your viewers end up watching and sympathizing with the evil villain? So, curiosity killed the cat. I bit the bullet and began watching Batwoman. Now, I'm going to do this Batwoman series by episode. So in this video, I will be starting with the pilot episode, way back to last year. Do you remember last year when we were living in blissful ignorance and we thought 2020 would be the year, and then the shit really hit the fan? Yeah. Stop looking forward to the next year and saying it's going to be our year, because the next year just gets worse. Let's just stop that. It's also important to remember that everything in this video is my opinion, and my opinions, even if differing to yours, do not invalidate your beliefs about the show or characters, but I will be honest and truthful. So disclaimer is out of the way. Let's get started. We start with Kate Kane's voiceover, telling us that some stories are not always what they seem. Well, that is true. That is what enticed me to watch, with the love and affection that people gave the villain Alice. It is important to note at this point that the voiceovers aren't always so easy to hear and understand. Ruby Rose mumbles a lot, and it's quite annoying. I had to turn my sound up louder than I would usually have it just to listen to every word clearly. This is happening while we see Kate dive into an icy patch of river to claim a key. Then she has to fight through thick ice to reach the surface. This was the start of my oh boy moments. I've had a few while watching this. Because while I enjoyed the show, I had some of these, and most include Ruby Rose as Kate Kane. Now, okay, you may say I'm picky, but Ruby Rose does not have the physical stature or strength to break this ice. I find it quite unrealistic, and this was one of my many concerns about why Ruby Rose was a bad choice for Kate Kane. She looks weak and frail. If I imagine she was in the military and now fights bad guys in multiple numbers while alone, I find it unrealistic that she could ever hold her own. But hey, let's move on. Although, as a warning, I will almost definitely be bringing this fact up again and again and again in this video and future videos. So as Kate is struggling to smash the ice, she begins to lose consciousness, and we get a flashback to a car scene with a car hanging over the edge of a bridge. After an accident, two little girls in the back with their mother. We see a necklace, remember, that's important, and we see Batman. Somehow this flash of memory is what spurs Kate back to life, and the key, which is still magically in her hand and hasn't floated away during this lax of concentration, she uses it to unlock the chain around her leg, freeing herself. Then we go between the flashback of young Kate trapped in the car and adult Kate using the handcuff thing that was once around her foot, ankle, to beat against the ice and effectively free herself. I must admit, I had no idea what the hell was going on at this point. They literally just threw us into the deep end. I think it was to demonstrate the sense of helplessness and fear Kate felt at that moment as she watched her mother and sister disappear and die. I'm imagining the woman in the car with the two children is their mother, although this hasn't been brought up, so who knows, maybe she was just a abductor stealing kids or something. This is Gotham, after all. Anything is possible. However, this drives her forward and gives her the energy to fight, and then she pulls herself up to the surface, and the crisis is over. For now. The big one will happen later. Then we learn it was some kind of test or some stupid shit by some mythical dude who covered the whole of the ice. Which, I mean, someone needs to check this guy out. How many people took the test and didn't survive? There is a serial killer, and for once, he is not a resident of Gotham. We learn that Batman has been missing for 3 years. Yes, a rich white dude went missing, and no one knows where he went, and the cops don't seem to be trying very hard to find him. This is a universe where people have lasers shooting from their eyes, and this is the most unbelievable bit for me. But I'm not here to diss Bruce Wayne. I kinda like him, so let's not destroy the Bat. I must admit that our first introduction to the city of Gotham had me reminded of Earth X. Do you remember the start of that crossover and the downtrodden, decaying city that stood and looked very futuristic with red Nazi flags and symbols? Well, there were red flags draped down buildings, but no Nazi symbols. But it still made me think of it, and it even brought in this dystopian sense for me that Earth X had and Gotham. There's a lot of similarities there, I think, for me anyway. Gotham are having a special event. Although outside there are tons of people protesting, their faith in Batman is unwavering. They hold signs saying things like, Batman is Gotham. Which, I mean, yeah, but that dude is a millionaire and can use his money to clean up that town. Instead, he plays with fancy gadgets and dons a batsuit to ineffectively fight crime. Yeah, remember I said I liked Bruce Wayne, but I'm not blinded by his flaws. It's at this point we meet Kate's stepsister and stepmother, and I think I'm allowed to say that Kate's stepmom is kind of hot. That's just my opinion, so okay. There is a clear distinction between the wealthy and the normal people of Gotham already. The poor normal Joes pleading for their hero to return, while the rich walk by ignoring their cries and demonstrations. I mean, there is nothing they can do. Batman has been missing for 3 years, but, I mean, at least listen to them. Don't put on fancy engagements and play. This is where we meet Kate's father, and we learn that with Batman gone, he started a private security company to protect the people of Gotham. That security company is plastered all around this government building. I enjoyed the visuals in this scene. It was very dictatorship-worthy, while projected up into the blackened night sky was the bat symbol, a perfect symbol of what you wish for versus what you get. While the rich and the good play, glasses of champagne piled high, you know something is going to go down, and man, I was not disappointed. In this series, you will discover I love female villains. So, just warning right there, whenever Alice shows up, I may get a little... Yeah, just a warning. We find out this get-together is actually happening so they can turn off the bat signal, which is why the crowds are protesting outside. The rich are always brave when it comes to ignoring the voices of the lower classes. Have you noticed? Catherine Kane, Kate's stepmother, is giving the announcement as all the signals to the security cameras go down. Yeah, if you have any history with Gotham, you know it's going to happen, although usually it's the Joker about to pop up, but thankfully that jackass hasn't shown up yet, and hopefully he never will. I've never been a fan of the Joker. Then it happens. Just as the countdown begins, a few guards get knives to their throats and backs. They just weren't alert enough, and still the countdown continues. You see, these guards were alone, and now they can't alert anyone to anything because, well, they're dead. And we get our first glimpse of Alice. The crowd wait, but the Batman sign is still up. and there is no one to turn it off because the dude has just been stabbed in the back by a hot blonde chick with an insane swagger. Instead, what they are confronted with is the blonde woman being projected onto the TV screens at the back of the speaker's podium, and all hell breaks loose. The people go crazy, run into exit. The dead dude is flashed on the screens. It's a nightmare. You think people of Gotham would be used to this dark, crazy shit, but no, they aren't. Rich people are weird, I guess. It is important to note Alice's henchmen all wear animal masks, usually rabbit. And Sophie, who I haven't mentioned yet, but will speak of a lot because as I've watched these episodes, I've realized while everyone has been praising Alice, they forgot Sophie. Sophie chases after this guy in a rabbit mask. See rabbits. She shoots him, but is tackled by another member of the gang, who, after a fierce fight, throws her over the edge of the building and onto a big piece of material being held by multiple members of the gang. How did they know to have it there at that exact moment, and that she would be there for them to catch? Who knows? We leave the action and get thrown back to Kate. It's actually like enduring a slow death watching Kate Kane on the screen. Everything from the way she moves her face muscles to how she walks is lethargic and old. I want energy from her, but she gives nothing, and it's very disappointing. We see the necklace again, and she gets a call from Mary, her stepsister, to tell her Sophie is missing, and we get another flashback to Kate and Sophie making out. Seems they were together, but we will learn more about that later. This is what brings Kate back to Gotham. So yeah. No feelings at all there. No feelings. Remember that. Kate is the prodigal daughter returning home, and we get an emotional reunion with her father. I say emotional. I'm halfway through this season of Batwoman, and I've learned emotional is not in Ruby Rose's acting resume. Then we get another flashback between Kate and Sophie as cadets in the military, very close to graduating. Kate Kane even has a motorbike, and still it did nothing for me. This is how you know they chose the wrong actress to play Kate Kane. If I'm not driven over Batwoman, then yeah, you are not doing great, especially if she has a motorbike. I'm just putting that one out there. Then Kate heads to Wayne Enterprises. To gain entrance, she climbs up the building. Again, how can someone who looks so frail and have very little upper body strength get up there with such ease and quick pace? Once inside, we get more flashbacks, but Luke Fox breaks her from her memories and handcuffs her. But she manages to get out of them and slip them onto him and gain access to whatever it is she needs and leaves him tied to a wall or a door or something. Who knows at this point? Then Kate gets back to the family apartment where there is some big party because if they feel safe, then their clients will feel safe. At this point, I think it's any excuse for a party, but the rich are weird as fuck, so. And we get treated to another flashback where we learn why Kate and Sophie broke up, and it's kind of weird. I had to go and look up some things to make sure what I was going to say was in any way truthful. So here is my issue with their breakup. The Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy was instituted on February the 28th, 1994, and it lasted until September the 20th, 2011. Now, I'm not a military person, and I'm not even American, but Don't Ask, Don't Tell was a move forward, supposedly, in the acceptance of LGBTQ peoples in the military, essentially, whereas before it had been forbidden. In the flashback, we see Kate looking through her cell phone, and given the ages, etc., it is obvious that Kate and Sophie were cadets after Don't Ask, Don't Tell was ended in 2011, so this shouldn't even be a thing. And even if they were in the military before Don't Ask, Don't Tell came to an end, then they still wouldn't face this treatment. They just weren't supposed to say that they were LGBTQ, so again, this is not plausible, and it just adds to a narrative that doesn't exist. I've been looking down the comments sections on various Batwoman videos I've seen on YouTube, and a lot of LGBTQ servicemen and women bring up this point. And these are people who have actually lived through these times and experienced it. So if these people laugh at this premise and joke, then I think you're doing some kind of crazy overdramatization of the facts. Were there no other ways to break up Sophie and Kate? I did not like the way this was written, the way they intended this so they could build a dramatic two lovers torn apart by homophobia, one who has a fear of being herself, so she needs the military more than Kate or something. It really didn't sit well with me, and if they wanted that storyline, there are a million other ways to write it, instead of cutting out bits of reality and pasting them together to form their own narrative. No one say that they were in cadet school pre-1993. No one say it, because how logical is that? Kate Kane is not 40 years old or more. Kate finds from the footage she found at Bruce Enterprises an old orphanage where she and her sister Beth used to go to as kids with Ouija boards to freak each other out. Like, what the fuck, kids? What kids are playing with Ouija boards? I don't want to cast assumptions here, but this could be why Alice turned out bad and Kate turned out to have no personality beyond her hair. So, at the orphanage, Kate meets an animal masked dude and they fight. Again, it's unrealistic and this guy should have kicked her ass, but no. Kate wins convincingly, throwing this guy around like they're a feather and she's a frickin' bear. What the hell's going on with the show? Despite kicking their asses, Kate then wakes up on the ground. I guess she was knocked out, but we never saw it, so who knows? Maybe she just fell asleep because she was worn out. But the important bit is, this is where Kate comes face to face with Alice. Sitting on her ancient makeshift brown throne of craziness, swinging her penknife in the air like she's dicing oxygen with it, the regal queen of the villains is in the house, and she is not here to play. Or at least not any games you'd like to play. What I was confronted with in this scene was how the rest of the season would continue when these two characters interacted together. There is character in Alice. There is something beyond her face, emotion even when she's snarling and grinding her teeth with rage and being hateful. There is motive always there, but with Kate, she's empty and there's nothing. So when the two characters meet, it almost seems as though Alice is trying her best to get something from Kate, but it never gets delivered. Kate is supposed to be angry, and yet she just seems tired and constipated in all truthfulness. Alex is pissed at Jacob. She says he's a bully, and she wants the world to know he isn't scary. I don't know at this point, I'm still wondering why no one mentions the woman in the car, their mother, what happened to her. I guess they don't care. Alice continues to taunt Kate that she took Sophie because that would get Jacob's attention, and that Sophie is the daughter he always wanted, not Kate. She's a disappointment. You know, the things a lesbian daughter gets told a lot. Wait, is that just me? Okay, that's enough of my demons, and let's get back to the show. Alice then proceeds to smash Kate across the head with a cricket bat. She's a lovely lady. Kate gets taken to a medical facility where we find out Mary is working as a doctor, which is a plot twist. I feel at the beginning they deliberately displayed her as ditzy and almost airhead, the type of kid with wealthy parents, and here she is, a doctor the whole time who cares about the waifs and strays of Gotham. So Mary stitches Kate up. She's been smashed across the head good and proper, and there doesn't seem to be any inquiries about concussion or head injury. Then I'm not a doctor, so maybe I'm not the best person to question this. Then Kate leaves on her bike again. There is no sign of any injury to her head, no bruise, no lump, nothing. But Kate has to convince her father that the vendetta is against him, and no one or nothing else. But Jacob is a stubborn ass who believes himself always to be right, so he dismisses her claims. They share a moment where Kate tells him that she can't ever be who he wants her to be, and that in his eyes, she will never be as good as Beth, her dead twin sister. I always find it a real mindfuck when I come across a character called Beth. They're always evil. I don't know why is every character Beth evil? It's not fair. We're not all evil. Well, maybe. This should be a hit you in the gut moment, especially if you have these kinds of issues in your personal life. But no, nothing, because again, Kate is empty, and I find it so frustrating. This should be a moment where father and daughter share something. Instead, it's emotionless and dead. It is something though how much Ruby Rose could be Dougary Scott's child. They look so much like each other. In that regard, the casting here is spot on. Then, Kate, who's pissed off, goes and bullies Luke again. Like, this seems to be her thing in this pilot episode, bullying Luke. And at this point, I feel like I'm going to like Luke, so just back off, Kate. And Kate finds her way into the Bat Cave. Because, she's nosy and likes prying into other people's homes, I guess. And she learns that Bruce Wayne is, or was, Batman. The moment Kate sees the suit, it should be shock and stunned awe. But again, there's nothing. It's just a blank, faux shock that really doesn't do anything to you. She's just found out that her cousin, who she was really close to apparently, is the man that she half blamed for her mother and sister's disappearance and death. Nothing. And we get another flashback to the car accident, and yes, the woman was their mother. Kate learns that Bruce felt guilty about not being able to save Beth and their mother, so Kate learns Batman isn't some selfish SOB. Kate makes Luke fix the batsuit so that it can fit her, because apparently it's only perfection when it fits a woman, so she is terrifying to her enemies, but who did Batman ever scare with that suit? Gotham was always lawless, even with him there. And of course, there is another grand event this time, some kind of open movie theatre. The last place I would sit out in the open air and watch old movies would be Gotham. Is that just me, or is it a universal feeling? Naturally, Alice and her goons are waiting, but so are Jacob and the Crows, which is the name of the security service, by the way. I know I haven't mentioned that yet. Alice is lit up by the backdrop of the city's high-rising buildings, black and yellow, form a halo around her blonde hair, and we see that, yep, she had a spy working inside Crow all along, which is kind of obvious. She is far smarter than Jacob at this point. Alice calls Jacob personally, because this is how she rolls. She shifts so effortlessly between sanity and crazed lunacy that sometimes it's quite hard to pinpoint where she is on the spectrum, but always her rage is present. Her vendetta comes from a place of hurt. She let that fester along the way until this is how she turned out. I find her fascinating and utterly complex. As the episodes go along, she becomes even more so, that it is hard not to empathize with her, even when she does the most heinous of things. You hate yourself for it, but there is a part of you who understands and feels the pain and betrayal. If only this were true for Kate. I want to like her, but there's just nothing. So while they're still talking, Jacob goes to the Crow's security van and finds a bomb. Of course there's a bomb. Why didn't they imagine something like this would happen, if they are all so freaking good and filled with old pros? And Jacob looks up at the building across from the screening to a construction site, or an old building, whatever. And there is Sophie dangling over the side like a fly in a spider web. But of course at this point there is only a few minutes left, and we need Batwoman to come and save Sophie, so she does. What is unbelievable at all is that people see the Batsuit and think it's Batman. I mean, it's clearly a feminine figure inside the suit. Why would they not see this? They look at it, see the boobs, see the slim hips, and think, that's muscular Batman. Don't judge me when I say during this fight scene, I was rooting for Alice, okay? Don't judge me. I am the girl who cried when Aslan killed the evil witch in The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, so just save your judgment for another day. I know I have issues. And then Batwoman saves Sophie and they end up falling down and crashing through a rooftop onto a bed. I was disappointed to note that there will be no Maggie Sawyer or Renee in this Batwoman, which to be honest sucks, because they both canon Batwoman comic love interests. But whatever, I think Sanva's fans would have kicked up a stink if Maggie Sawyer had been included. Now, Sophie is right up close to Batman in this scene, so she may not have seen Batman up close, but for fuck's sake, she can see the lower part of the face and eyes. There is nothing masculine here. It is a woman behind the suit, yet she's still, you're him. They took two characters in Alice and Sophie who we've learned are quite intelligent and made them stupid. We had the will they kiss scene and they didn't. Okay, move on. Instead, Kate goes back up to confront Alice and she's not there, shockingly. And she's posing over the edge of this building. And a kid sees her and declares it's Batman. I'm not blaming the kid because way up there, it's hard to see properly. It's not the kid's fault. But for everyone else who has been up close, please consider glasses. Gotham wakes up the next morning with the news, and suddenly there's hope. Batman lives, and he is back. Or is he? Yeah, we know the truth. At the Crow's headquarters, we see Sophie back at work. Girl, you were just kidnapped and hung from a very great height over a building and nearly killed. And hours later, you're back at work. That woman has balls. Kate learns that Sophie is engaged, and she's engaged to a man. Oh no. Cue heartbroken Kate. We know she's heartbroken. She can't hide it. And Kate learned that her father didn't want her to join the Crows because he wanted her safe and behind a desk, where the only harm she could get was a paper cut. You know, at this point, I'm still not ready to believe Jacob is quite as bad as I've heard. He's a stubborn ass, but hey, so am I, and we all make mistakes, and he's a father who lost one daughter and wanted to save his other daughter from any harm. I think that's logical, even if that meant going against what she wanted. He better not prove me wrong in the future. The father and daughter heart-to-heart ends with Jacob offering Kate a part on the team, his way of showing some kind of growth maybe and realizing his mistake with Kate. Kate is drawn back to the Batcave. The narration is Kate writing letters or journals to Bruce at this point. I'm not sure why this is a thing, but I'm sure I'll find out because she could just tell him this stuff when he returns, or if he returns. And if he doesn't return, what's the point? He's not going to read it. Right at the very end, Kate has the realization that Alice is in fact Beth. Her twin sister, they all believed, was dead. It's a cool cliffhanger. It took me 5 hours to watch a 41-minute show and write and script while taking notes and stopping to do some research on Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I'm tired and I'm going to end here. There was one gem about this pilot episode and that was Alice, but I want to see more Sophie and Mary. Take care and stay safe. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.